Welcome into Cougar Tracks here on the KSL Sports YouTube. I am your BYU insider, Mitch Harper, for KSL Sports. It's Wednesday, August 19th. We're 17 days away until BYU football officially returns. Saturday, September 5th, BYU kicks off the much-anticipated 2026 season, and they'll do it against, the Utah Tech Trailblazers. The Trailblazers will make that drive up I-15 North, take their beat down, and head back down and use those funds probably for a nice facility upgrade and whatnot. But in 17 days, we get BYU football, and camp continues to move along for the Cougars, and feels like there's a pecking order emerging at wide receiver. It's our top story of the day.
The top story of the day. The biggest story in the world of BYU sports right here on Cougar Tracks.
So on Wednesday, it was an off day once again, as it is every week during fall camp for the Cougars. Off day, but they made the trip up to Park City. A little staycation, a little team bonding opportunity for the Cougars up in Park City overnight from Tuesday into Wednesday. They had a little bit of golf. Some of the players played. There was also a movie viewing with Spider-Man. Players will be back in town on Wednesday night for the Cougar kickoff, which, by the way, is a ticketed event. It's free, but it's ticketed. You got to go to BYUCougars.com or BYUTickets.com to get that ticket. So just a heads up there, because typically for those who've attended the Cougar kickoff, you just show up and waltz in. This year, you got to have a free ticket that goes to your Apple Wallet. So be aware of that if you're planning to go to the Cougar kickoff this evening. But fall camp continues to push forward. They'll be back to practice on Thursday. We'll probably get the practice report from Trayson Bourget. The media will be back at the practice fields coming up on Friday. But it feels like we're starting to see a wide receiver grouping emerge. Who are the top-end guys for this wide receiver unit? BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick was asked what stands out about these receivers in camp, and this is what he had to say.
Big, that stands out. So you see him walk out on the field. I don't think anybody in the country is going to have a bigger group than we have. Maybe somebody, I don't know, but we have great size and really like the way they're executing. Jojo is playing really good football. I'll forget somebody if I start mentioning everyone, but Kyler Casper really showed up in the scrimmage, played well. Tiger Bachmeier had a really good scrimmage. He's playing well. Reggie Frischknecht is playing well. And Glasker, those guys are all doing a really nice job.
He might forget some people, but here's 5 guys that are really standing out, and those 5 seem like they're the ones that are emerging out of fall camp. Again, Jojo Phillips, Kyler Casper, Tiger Bachmeier, Reggie Frischknecht, and true freshman legend Glasker. Aaron Roderick's not kidding, too, on the height. You look at the numbers on these guys. 6'5" for Jojo Phillips, 6'6" for Kyler Casper, the transfer from Oregon, 6'4" for Reggie Frischknecht. Tiger Bachmeier, he's 6'1", and then legend Glasker checking in at 6'1" as well. That seems like that would probably be your top 5. How do you feel about that, Cougar Nation? Do you feel pretty good about that? I would look at that group and say there's definitely potential. There's room to really grow with this group, and as Fesi Sitake told me at the beginning of fall camp, he feels this wide receiver unit as a whole is probably the most skilled in terms of depth, skilled receivers, not necessarily saying there's some next Puka Nacua waiting in the wings, but the most skilled receivers room that he's had since arriving at BYU. Jojo, 25 catches for 377 yards and 3 touchdowns in his BYU career. He's heading into his 4th season with the program. Bachmeier, of all those names, he actually has probably the most production at the college level. You look at Tiger's numbers, 53 catches, 535 yards, and 2 touchdowns, most of which came in his first year on the farm at Stanford. It's been decreasing the last 2 years for Tiger. Can he have a bounce back in his redshirt senior year? It does feel like things are trending up for Tiger. I still would probably put a higher ceiling for sure on legend Glasker. I would still put Glasker in the starting lineup, but clearly Bachmeier has the trust of the coaches. He's going to be in that grouping of guys getting snaps at wide receiver. Kyler Casper, fascinating talent. I mean, you see him out on the field. He is huge. And that catch radius, you see that catch that he had in the scrimmage where he extends out for the touchdown, that catch radius just shines bright. How long he is of an athlete. Only 6 catches for 77 yards in his college career at Oregon. He comes to BYU, and he's going to be looked upon to be one of the top guys for the Cougars. Reggie Frischknecht continues to rise. Only 1 catch in his college career so far. Obviously played at Snow, then had a semester at Weber State. Now he comes to BYU, where last year he appeared in a few games and, like I said, had 1 catch, but he actually had as many number changes last year to his uniform as he did catches. But he has been trending up 2 touchdown grabs over the weekend and has been playing well. He was really good, I thought, on Tuesday's practice as well. And then Legend Glasgow, the true freshman, who has been really shining even since the moment he arrived on campus in winter conditioning. There's been palpable buzz about Legend Glasgow. He's going to play a lot, the cousin to BYU linebacker Isaiah Glasgow. And when I look at that receiver room, and assuming, again, A-Rod didn't specifically say that's the top 5, but you can kind of read between the lines there on that commentary. And I think it bears itself out with what we're seeing in some practices, the buzz we're hearing behind the scenes. That would seem like that's the 5 that's trending that way for BYU. I think what's most notable, Jaron Pula, not in that grouping mentioned by A-Rod. And look, that could be an oversight by A-Rod, as he noted. But Pula, of course, was dealing with an injury in spring. Didn't see him in the practice observations. He's been on the sideline early on, but I can't recall seeing him take snaps on Tuesday. That could have been just an oversight by me and whatnot, but didn't see him go through any particular snaps there. But Jaron Pula, a very talented guy, could add a lot to this room at some point this season. Also, Nakua, did see him on Tuesday. He appeared to be running with the 3rd-team offense, which also was Tiger Bachmeier as well at times with Tay. But Nakua not maybe getting as much buzz as you would like to have seen. You wanted to see maybe that jump, and look, it could still be there. Some guys can maybe rise to the occasion in the season. Maybe they're just not practice guys, but it does feel like Phillips, Bachmeier, Casper, Frischknecht, Glasgow, whatever you want to slice that up, that's probably your top 5 guys right now for BYU. Is that good enough for BYU at wide receiver? I think you feel really good about the tight end spot with Walker Lyons and Roger Saliapaga. Are those receivers enough? Could someone or 2 guys emerge to maybe replicate the production that Chase Roberts and Parker Kingston leave behind from last year, which was 2 of the top 7 receivers in the Big 12, more than 1,600 receiving yards between the 2 of them? Are those 5 guys that I mentioned, could they replicate that as a collective whole, or could 2 guys become those bona fide stars for BYU in the receiving department? We shall see for the Cougars. Speaking of Parker Kingston, I thought it was interesting on Wednesday, Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports reported, with the 2022 recruiting class being granted another year of college eligibility, that we talked about that yesterday on the podcast with more of a basketball focus. Zenitz goes on to say there are players who have signed NFL contracts who are now looking into filing lawsuits that would allow them to return to college and possibly even transfer, sources tell me and AYS Sports. I bring this up with Kingston not because he's in the NFL or anything like that, but it could be a situation for him if the portal opens up for a week like we're seeing in college basketball. Maybe he could find a landing spot because this is his 5th and final year in college football. Redshirted in 2022, 2023, 24, 25. He was with BYU. This is his 5th year. And the NCAA is not in the business of doing any waivers anymore. It's 5-5, and that's that. The deadline for waivers was July 31st for the old model. And unless he got a waiver, which maybe he did, I haven't heard as much. You wonder if he can maybe tap into that portal and go find a landing spot similar to what Retzloff did last year with Tulane, where he gets in late. That was late July, so that was still different than teams are going through fall camp right now. That might be a tougher ask, but I mean, if I'm BYU, I'm keeping my options open too on the NFL side of things with players. But hopefully, maybe Kingston can find a landing spot somewhere if the portal opens up, because that's been the hang-up for him. He obviously had the case, but then once that was dismissed, he couldn't just move wherever he wanted because the portal wasn't open. And he would have fallen under the ghost transfer rules, which could have led to a fine for a school and then a head coach being suspended. And, of course, all these NCAA rules clearly can be placed in court and get a TRO, temporary restraining order, and win the day. But I found that nugget a little bit interesting. But on the BYU side of it, I also wonder, should BYU keep their eyes peeled potentially for a wide receiver? I'm telling you, if you could get a guy that was going through an NFL training camp, and maybe he's not good enough quite yet to be a 53-man roster guy, but he's good enough for a practice squad role or kind of knocking on the doorstep of competing in an NFL camp, I take on that guy. Now, Chase Roberts, you would think that would be the path right there, but he was class of 2021, so he wouldn't fall under this situation for 5 and 5. If I'm BYU, I'd keep my eyes peeled. I'm always looking to upgrade the roster because, and when people say, oh, the college season's starting right now, we see it all the time in the NFL. Guys getting added, maybe mid-season, picked up off the waiver wire, then they're thrown into action. This wants to be more like the NFL, allocating a bunch of resources and money to players. You're just getting an early taste of what NFL life is like. So you get someone added mid-season potentially, then can continue to compete. If I'm BYU and this becomes a thing where guys that can get a TRO and be eligible, I would consider it if there's the roster space necessary. Now, that's the big issue, is that do you actually have roster space to add someone? Like, I look at running back and wide receiver, I'd add someone. And I know that Aaron Roderick has said he likes what's emerging at running back. He noted Preston Rex and Journey Tonga and Devon Eka. Look, I'm just always thinking, find a way to get better. Just continue to add to the roster. And if you could get someone, I'd consider it. But interesting tidbits when it comes to the BYU wide receiver room for the Cougars. And, of course, a good passing attack needs some big offensive linemen up front to protect the quarterback and give him that pocket and that time to sling the pill. Let's talk offensive line next here on Cougar Tracks. Cougar Tracks rolls on here on the KSL Sports YouTube page every day, talking BYU sports here on Cougar Tracks. If you could be so kind, subscribe to the KSL Sports YouTube, thumbs up this video, subscribe to the podcast, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Seriously, please do that. It would help out the show a ton. It'd be greatly appreciated. So at practice, I had the chance to catch up with BYU offensive line coach TJ Woods, entering his 3rd season with the program. Feels like he's been there longer, and that's not a bad thing. I think it's worked so well with Coach Woods that it just feels like he's been like a lifer with Kalani Sitake every step of the way. But only his 3rd season in the program, and this offensive line has the makings to be a really good group in 2026, like many positions in this BYU football program in 2026. And I started my conversation with Coach Woods asking him about the slogan on the bottom of the T-shirts that BYU offensive linemen are wearing, FTP. Bruce Mitchell wouldn't tell me. Bear Bachmeier said he doesn't even know. Does TJ Woods know? What does FTP stand for?
Yeah, you'd have to ask those guys. Sorry.
It's in the room.
Yeah,
okay.
It's I can't break that.
That's fair. That's fair. Along those lines, though, how is this the personalities? I always think of offensive line rooms being a lot of personality, close togetherness with finding that 5 to work together. How is the personalities and the chemistry between this group?
Very good. I mean, as good as I've been around since I've been here. I think having 4 guys that have played with each other, like meaningful snaps down the line, 4th quarter against Arizona in a comeback, overtime, those type of things, like they trust each other. They get along really well. Obviously we're still working in the left tackle piece. But those other 4 guys, they're veterans. They know where the other one's going to be when they need them to be there. And so we're in a good spot right now that way.
When you talk about the left tackle piece, is that either Pocky or Siwa, or like where's your kind of your mindset at that position?
Yeah, I mean, right now I think Pocky's got the edge. I wouldn't say it's a done deal. I think Siwa's getting better. He's doing a lot of good things. The thing with Siwa is he hasn't played as much football, and so these reps out here are invaluable for him. He just needs to play. Just needs to play the game, and so we're having a little bit patience with him, obviously, but we're excited about him. And I would throw Bot in the mix too. Bot has had a really good camp up to this point. He does things that, all of us will be in the room, the players included, going, "Whoa, that was pretty good." So he's got a bright future. So we're excited about him. Again, it's going to be about how much they're both drinking through a fire hose. They're still young, right? How much of the system can they really execute in critical times, right? That's the biggest thing. So
Kalani's drawn comparisons to Bot, and this was from Kalani. He said like Penny Sol, Kingsley Somati. I mean, and hearing Kalani over the years, he doesn't do that often unless he sees something pretty special in someone. And I know it's still developing, and you got to take time with guys, but do you see, if he's like a second team guy, what does it say about the first team offense potentially and being in the mix of the talent that's in this room?
Yeah, no, I think we're very talented. I think we have, like I said, we have a veteran crew. And so, sometimes talent versus experience, it's a little bit of a bell curve, right? And so I think that's kind of where it sits right now. Not saying that Bot is any more talented, but I think as a young player, as you're projecting Bot and you're looking at what he could be, I don't think that those comparisons are completely out of the question, right? I mean, obviously, potential means you haven't done anything yet, and so we're working through some of that. But we're so excited about Bot, and I think the thing I'm most impressed about Bot is he wants to be good. He wants to work, and I think so many of these kids when they're high-profile recruits, they get told for 2 years how good they are, and a lot of them start, I think, sometimes believing what they're hearing a little too much. And to me, that's one thing we really enjoy coaching Bot, because he's humble, he's hungry, he wants to get better, he wants to work, he puts in the work, he loves his craft, and so we're really excited about him.
And I think there's got to be a lot of excitement too for Bruce Mitchell, who probably on the opposite end of the spectrum when it came to recruiting status. He came in, it was before you got here, but no star recruit. Now he's probably maybe one of the best centers in college football. Where do you think Bruce is improving this year? If there were areas of growth for him in his game, where do you think he's improved?
I mean, I think mastering our offensive line system. I think this game is about systems and execution of those systems, right? So there's the overall offense, and then there's the offensive line system, and how we go through about how we solve the problems that present themselves on the field. I feel like Bruce is still growing in that area, is doing a tremendous job there. And then I think some of the technique too, this is only really, I think he hadn't even played O-line for 3 years. Yeah. So he's still learning the position, which is a testament to him. I mean, the results that he produces with the amount of exposure he's had to the techniques is pretty remarkable, And you alluded to his no stars. I think that's what's really nice about this group is I think we are pretty talented. I think we have a lot of really good pieces, but we have a lot of self-made guys, guys that, Bruce Mitchell, Sonny Mocassini, Kyle Saforchuk was at Southern Utah. These guys made themselves into the players that they are, and I think it fits in line with our culture here at BYU, right? With Kalani's culture, and they're humble, they want to work hard, and I think it's been nice too for our room, because what we've done is we've infused some really elite talent, in my opinion, young elite talent, but they're learning from these players that have that work ethic, that have that mindset where you talk to Kyle Saforchuk, man, he knows that he's had to earn every inch that he's ever got. And to me, that's what's exciting, is if you pair this elite talent with an elite mindset, then you're going to have an elite offensive line, and that's really what we're trying to go for.
And to get to that elite offensive line, I'm curious, how physical has it been in fall camp I know Kalani references sparring and things like that, but in camp to get them ready for the battles that approach, or has it been maybe scaling back with some of those proven guys at the top of the room? How have you balanced that?
Yeah, honestly, I think that's one of the hardest things as a coach, or one of the hardest things that this offensive line group at least is dealing with is, managing the success that we've had. And I will say I think camp has been very physical. We've if we're not getting it in team, we've been making sure we've been getting it in individual. I believe there's one way to play this game, and it's with violence and tenacity. And so we've been still training that a little bit, but I do think the leading cause of failure is mismanaged success, and we talk to the guys a lot about, success is a receipt, not a reservation. Nothing that happened last year is going to guarantee us anything on that field this year, and so we got to come out here and work our what's off and get better and take it one day at a time, and we've been doing that. This camp has been challenging that way.
Do you feel like, last couple things here, Coach, appreciate the time, do you feel like you've got 8 or 9 guys that you confidently could turn to when Utah Tech comes up in about 2.5, 3 weeks?
I do, yeah. I think we're still working through, obviously we have, I feel really good about 6, maybe 7, 8, 9. To be honest, I feel good about 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and we got to figure out which ones are going to be, 8, 9, and 10, or 7, 8, and 9, however you phrase it. But I think we got some real battles going on right now, and today we put some guys up with the ones that we'll see if they can, blocking Keanu Tanavas is a little different animal, and so it's been good, and guys have stepped up, they've risen to the challenge, and we're excited about them.
Last thing, just impressions of some of those new faces that maybe we didn't see as much in spring. We saw a lot of junior Sia, but Zach Yamauchi was dealing with an injury. He's back. Just thoughts on Sia and Yamauchi, what they could maybe bring.
Yeah, I think both of those guys we brought them here to play significant roles on this team. And so we're excited about them. Zach, missed a pretty large section of spring ball, so he's kind of still, we're giving him, I think, maybe a few or more opportunities just to kind of see what he can do, because he didn't have those opportunities in spring. But both of those guys have the potential to be really good players and key contributors this year.
And that's BYU offensive line coach TJ Woods. Always enjoy my conversations with Coach Woods. This is going to be a good offensive line, and it was fun to see on Tuesday some of the different combinations. Again, you got veteran guys that you're getting them to the battles in the fall, and maybe giving some looks to like a Zach Yamauchi, who you just heard. Maybe they're giving a little bit bigger workload to get him up to speed for the season. And Yamauchi's got, first unit potential on this team. I think, though, if you had to forecast, and I think what's the interesting wrinkle here is at left tackle, Paki Finau or Siwa Latu Finau. Do they go with Siwa, Siosia Ua Latu Finau? Do they do that? That'll be interesting to see. I would assume it's probably going to still be Paki Finau. Then left guard, you go Kyle Safarichok. Center, Bruce Mitchell. Right guard, Sonny Makasini. Then right tackle, Andrew Gentry. It's a pretty good offensive line. And still getting guys on the second unit that are chomping at the bit. And how about Bot Mulitalo, some of that commentary? He's going to be a good one for the Cougars. And remember, with Bot, he's still learning the offensive line ways. He's just got some raw, God-given ability that you just can't teach, and now it's being taught. And he's in a Power 4 program, and he's competing, and he's got moments where he's going to be a really good one for the Cougars. He's going to be a 2-deep guy. Has to be. And rounding out that entire 2-deep, I think, will be something of note, too, for this BYU football team. Final break here on Cougar Tracks, and it's powered by KSL Sports. Welcome back into Cougar Tracks here on the KSL Sports YouTube. Mitch Harper here with you. So it's the dog days of fall camp. Let's call it what it is. And I saw this populating quite a bit on X, on my social media feed when I popped on. And I know X can be an echo chamber, and it's not the vocal majority. It's just, pockets of the algorithm that I like to partake in, which is college football. But a lot of people were buzzing on X about the debate over fall weddings and college football Saturdays. Josh Pate woke up with no fall weddings on my calendar. Feels amazing. Bud Elliott, he's basically making it clear, hey, you can go out and about on certain Saturdays because there's just terrible games on the slate for certain weekends, so go out and do your thing. Then others were chiming in. It just kept kind of going on. And Chris Vanini said, we're still doing the no fall weddings events bit. You realize you can watch multiple games at once in 4K on your phone now. The original idea was you had to give it up, but now you can be there for friends, family, and also not miss most of a game. Relax. Again, seeing this commentary, the fall wedding stuff, I think I bring an interesting perspective to this. So for me, anyone that knows me, the last time I missed a BYU game was 2007. It was BYU at UNLV. I still remember it because I had to work. It was just a retail job back in the day, and I was stuck at work, and I couldn't find ways to get it off. And so I had to work. It is what it was. And that's been 19 years. I mean, ever since I was a kid, I am blocking off BYU football Saturdays and in general college football Saturdays. I love college football. I remember as an 8-year-old, it was the 1996 season for BYU. And I remember being in Cub Scouts, but I'm planning on going to the BYU New Mexico game with my dad. 1996. And that was a close call game. Instead, I had to go to the Hogle Zoo to support my wolf den or whatever it was, and I was ticked. I was probably throwing a big fit as a kid, being a whiny kid, and probably being a huge nuisance. And now as an adult, I look at that and go, why was I acting that way? Because adults put a lot of time into taking kids to these events. But it's like, really, are we doing this right now? We got to do these scout activities. I remember a few weeks prior to that, it was the scout around. I'm watching BYU versus Washington at the Utah State Fair in a black and white TV. I was supposed to be anchoring my troops game or event that if you ever went to the Scout-A-Rama back in the day, it was a thing for troops. I just don't miss, is what I'm getting at. I do not miss games under any circumstances. So circling back to weddings, a fun tidbit about me, I don't know if you consider it fun, but it is, I think, fun considering that background of I don't miss games, and particularly college football. Like, I look at college football Saturdays as precious entities as well. I remember in 1998 being so excited to watch La Tech, Nebraska, because, oh, this Louisiana Tech team's got an LDS head coach. I want to see that game. And then it was a historic game. Troy Edwards had 400 plus receiving yards. It was insane. I got to watch college football. I love college football. I actually got married on a fall Saturday, or a fall wedding, excuse me, not fall Saturday, a fall wedding. I got married. My wedding took place in the fall, 2012. And a little bit of a story on that. So I was dating my now wife for about a year, and I was always of the thought process of slow playing relationships. I was never into let's fast track it when you know, just propose already. Like, I knew early on that my girlfriend was going to be my wife. I just felt very close, but I was like, okay, I want to keep saving, keep having this set, this ready to roll. And I was willing to wait 2-3 years if need be. I thought that'll be fine. We'll date for a couple years and then it'll happen. And I remember we got to about a year dating, and she had known I'd already kind of ballparked. It's like, hey, if hypothetically, if you wanted a ring, what type of ring would you want? And I asked that because I just wanted to pay cash and that sort of thing. So I kind of knew what I was targeting and thought, again, I'll wait another 9 months or so and have this thing ready to roll and get proposed. And 2 years into dating, this and that. Well, a year into dating, it was about May. It was around late April, early May. I remember my wife's cousin, he met someone and I think he proposed after like 2 or 3 weeks of knowing her. And my wife, again, she was my girlfriend at the time, never said anything like, well, where's my ring now? It was just like I could sense the moment where I'm on the clock. Now the rest of the family is saying, when are Mitch and Maddie going to get married? You guys have been dating how long? A year now? So I was like, okay, I'll propose. And this was going into the 2012 football season. And I'm like, I'll propose. And let's get married the following spring. Obviously, it's not my choice, but I wanted to throw it out there. She said yes to the proposal, but she wanted to get married in the fall. And I'm like, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know if we can do a fall wedding. I then threw out the idea of how about the BYU Hawaii weekend, which was the late September. It was the final September. It was General Conference weekend because I knew BYU was playing on a Friday. And I was like, let's do that weekend. And she's like, that actually would work great because she just didn't want to get married in the summer because it's too hot. And the fall is just a great time of the year. Like it's the perfect time of the year. I'm like, okay, this can work. I'm like thinking to myself, though, all my circle of people, they love college football. This is going to be a tough ask. We're not going to get many people to go. So we chose Gardner Village as the venue. We go and meet with the people that are the venue hosts because, again, great fall decor, all this stuff. And they threw out a wild idea. Like, they said the Saturday, and they're like, we could do this, this, and this. I'm like, okay. I'm like thinking to myself, like, I can't believe I'm getting married on a fall wedding. Like, a fall Saturday. I just thought to myself, I can't believe this is happening. Then the facility manager, she's like, we could do this. We could have you get married on a Monday, and it's super cheap. Like, it was nothing. I'm like, yes, like, let's do that, please, on Monday. This is fantastic. Like, let's do that. And then we don't miss a college football Saturday. And I'm thinking, there's no way my wife's going to say yes to this on Monday. But the price was so good, and she's like, let's do that. So what I'm getting at is, long story short, I think the fall wedding thing, yes, I don't really want to go to a wedding on a Saturday in college football because those Saturdays are so precious. And if you understand that, but hey, maybe find someone that is willing to maybe get married on a weekday. And I think LDS weddings, they're easier to have that happen because we're not dealing with open bars. Like when I was getting married to my wife, we're not dealing with open bar. It's not a whole weekend deal. Like, it's literally Claire's. Like, you've been to LDS weddings if you have. If you haven't, maybe get the chance to go. But it's nothing like the traditional wedding thing where it's open bar, it's a whole weekend, fly everyone out. And I'm thinking, for the people that are going to come out of town, they can parlay this game or this wedding with the BYU game the following Friday against Utah State. So me and my wife, we then go on our honeymoon. We then circle back, and bless her heart, she was willing to go to BYU Utah State that following Friday as well. So it was a great week, even though that game was an absolute slugfest, 6-3, and Ziggy Ansah was tearing it up. But otherwise, that was just a defensive rock fight. So every year I've got a anniversary in the fall. And I think people get blown away and say, you got married in the fall? There's context, though, to it, and it can work out. The great thing for me, if you're a BYU fan, get married General Conference weekend or maybe on a weekday leading up to it, because then you're never missing really a BYU game. This year, it's going to be tough because you got TCU road game. First time BYU's playing on General Conference Saturday since 2005. They haven't done that in a long time because typically you could have a Saturday free and not have any BYU game conflict and celebrate your anniversary. And it's like, it's no big deal. So there's workarounds, basically, especially for Cougar fans. But the fall wedding thing, yeah, I don't like going to a wedding and then watching a game on a phone. That is not my thing. I do not want to watch games on phone. Like I'll check in on games, but if I want to intently watch a game and there's anticipation and there's buildup, I don't want to settle for the phone and watch it. That's not a great viewing experience because then you can't ramp up the volume. And some people say, I don't need to hear the commentary. Like I want to hear the broadcasters. I want to hear the commentary. I want to hear the sound bites. I want to hear what these guys are saying about the game. And a lot of it's not great info. But I want to hear the dialogue and see if there is those funny moments. I think back to 2019, BYU Toledo. I think it was the first ever ESPN Plus paywall game BYU had ever been a part of. And one of the great flubs by a play-by-play man, Salami Katake. What was otherwise a horrible experience for BYU football, that game's always funny to me because Salami Katake. Anyway, fall weddings, it can work, but ideally, if you're gonna have a fall wedding, get married on a weekday. Have a wife that's very flexible, like I have, and we're still happily married. It still worked out, and now she understands the deal with football. And look, it's my job now. Like I can't miss. I mean, that's what pays our bills. That's what takes care of everything. Is this job? There have been times though, with basketball season, where sometimes. She's like, oh, can you miss this game? And I'm like, I can't miss this game. I just can't. You know, early on when we were dating, and still to this day it happens, but every first Saturday in December, her family has a Christmas party. And internally, it always killed me inside because one, it's conference championship Saturday in college football. But I was like, at the time, BYU's an independent, so don't have any stress about that. BYU's not going to play that weekend. But as obviously the Big 12 and years go by, and there was one year, too, in basketball where the Cougars were playing at Staples Center against USC in 2016. And you remember back in the day when BYU was in the WCC, those type of games in the throes of December where you would feel like college basketball's out of sight and out of mind, those were massive games because you don't get many huge signature opportunity wins to bolster the resume when you were in the WCC. And she's like, oh, it's just a basketball game. Can't you come to this family party? I'm like, yes, I'll go. And I'm trying to watch BYU USC and the Lone Peak 3 go up against the Trojans in Staples Center. And I think they were wearing black jerseys, BYU was. And anyway. There's always some give and take. And I'll say it is nice being in this job to be able to just confidently know I'm going to these games. But the thing is, I will say I do miss sometimes just sitting back and watching from 10 a.m. to late night. And when the people say like, oh, I'd always watch the Hawaii games, I don't know how people were finding those games back then. Like, as someone who used to see the WAC and live vicariously through the WAC, I don't know how people were watching these and saying, like, yeah, that was a rite of passage that I grew up to, staying up for the Hawaii experience late at night. I'm like, look, I think I was in the 99th percentile of people watching and finding obscure college football games. I never could find Hawaii games because they were always pay-per-view. Like, I remember watching, gosh, there was some game, it was a Big 12 game. I was really into RG3 with Baylor, and I remember paying for some Sooner Vision. They were playing Oklahoma, and watching that, like, I remember paying for ESPN Game Plan to watch coast to coast because I'd always hate getting designated by ABC. Oh, here's your 1:30 game. Like, I want to watch this game. I want to watch another game. I want to watch the one that's in the Midwest or the East or wherever it is. Like, I don't want to be summoned to Cal versus some other Pac-10 game, which I typically lean Western teams, but I wanted to get a pulse of everything. Like, you had to go through hoops to watch games nationally. Like, it was so cool in a 10 a.m. spot on ESPN Game Plan to watch a Jefferson Pilot SEC game. Kids today will never know. They'll struggles. Now it's like, you can't get enough of SEC football. The ESPNs of the world can't give you enough in their minds. They'll never give you much Big 12, but they always give you the SEC. I do miss that, though, just to watch college football from start to finish. There's just something about that on a college football Saturday. And I've never in the social media era, I've always been working with college football. And like, I love my job and I'm so happy to do what I do. But there's part of me that just like, man, I'd love to just post up on a Saturday and watch from game day all the way to the final horn after that 8:30 p.m. game, or if I'm lucky, a Hawaii game. Watch it to the bitter end and watch all those games. But Saturdays in the fall weddings can be tricky, and hopefully you can have a wife or whoever is flexible to say, you know what, just enjoy the game. That's going to be my thoughts on that. And Cougar Tracks is a wrap for today. We will be back tomorrow with more Cougar Tracks here on the KSL Sports YouTube page.